YouTube, what's going on? Kevin the Tech Ninja here, and first and foremost, I apologize for that chirping noise you hear. It's actually a group of birds that decided to live inside of my wall. But nothing will stop me from making amazing videos today. And today we're taking a look at the Samsung Q90T 4K TV. Samsung sent me the 65-inch version to review, so after about a week of using this TV from gaming, movies, apps, and streamings, I can honestly say this is a solid TV with some great features. I did find a few things that makes this TV not perfect, but I do want to reiterate these are things that are very minor and should not take away from the overall experience with this TV. I personally think Samsung Q90T is a looker. I think people really dig the simple design and it's elegant and modern. I think it could fit right into any modern decor that you may have or any traditional sitting area. The stand is a very heavy piece of metal, although since it's centrally located, it's not that stable. So if you happen to bump into it, the TV will wobble a little bit. I don't think it's going to fall, but that is something to be mindful of if you have small children or pets running around. The bezels are pretty thin too, and the overall TV is pretty thin. Now, it's not going to be razor thin like you see with OLEDs, but for a backlit TV, I think it's thin enough. Now, especially if you mount it on the wall, it doesn't pop out that far. Now, speaking of wall mounting, it does not allow you to use Samsung's zero gap wall mount, which is a bummer. The back of the TV has cable management for HDMI and also power. It's these little grooves that allows you to run cabling through. It's not a perfect solution, but it's good enough to hide cables. The inputs are side facing, which makes it really easy to plug things in when you have it wall mounted. Overall, I do feel that the build is as solid as expected from a premium Samsung TV. Now, speaking of the ports, there are 4 HDMI ports and 2 USB ports, digital optical and Ethernet. So let's go over to picture quality. The TV has a full array backlighting and it's set up with local dimming. The local dimming activates around bright areas to reduce the blooming effect you'll see on different types of things. So for example, like subtitles and other white objects in a dark background, traditionally you'll see like kind of a white halo around it. This TV finds a way to get rid of that. I don't think it's the best at it because the local dimming can actually make these bright objects that's supposed to be white appear to be a little bit gray. But you can also adjust the settings on how strong it goes. Maybe you want a little bit blooming but pure whites, or do you want no blooming and a little bit of grayish detail? It's really up to you, and you change that right in the picture settings. Now, I will say I'm still a fan of local dimming because I just hate blooming, so I did find a really good setting that worked pretty good for me, and I'm actually happy with it. Now, when talking about dimming, I guess it's just natural to talk about brightness. This TV gets very bright. During my testing, I had it in a bright living room with lights on, 2 windows, and still 100% visible. The screen also has anti-reflection layer on it, and this does a great job at blocking light and dispersing it. Now look right here in the corner of the TV. This will be a major distraction on almost any other TV out there that doesn't have this. But since this does have it built into the screen right here, it does a great job at filtering this. Now, I think the colors on this TV are bright, warm, and inviting. You know, it looks really good to the natural eye, like when you're watching content. But for someone like me who's just a little bit more of a purist, I do find the natural color profile to fit my style best, which is nice about Samsung TVs. You can adjust picture profiles and kind of fine tune the way you want it specifically. Now, I typically do turn off automatic colors and enhancing effects and smoothing and all those things. But of course, I did try it on with this TV, just basically how it's shipped out of the box with those things on. And I will say when watching a few movies, it did look pretty good. Now, I won't say I'd keep it on for every type of movie, but anything animated or anything that's very colorful, it really just flexes its color muscles and it looks very, very good. But once again, I turn that stuff off, but if you have it on, I think you'll be pleased with the color profile and also pleased with the image on how it looks, how it just kind of pops off the screen and grabs you. Now, speaking of movies, I tried various types of movies to watch. I had 4K content on a flash drive plugged directly into the TV, so there's nothing to do with Netflix or Amazon Prime, anything like that, direct input into it. The content was perfect. I expected, you know, Samsung has nailed content for 4K over the years and even 8K now on some sets, and this TV is no exception. Even if you watch 1080p content, it does upscale to 4K without any issues, and it looks native. So 720p content, like watching network TV, I think it scales pretty decently too, but there is a big difference between 1080p content and 720p when you're watching on this TV. You occasionally get some artifacts, but overall, I think it's still good. Now, native refresh rate on this TV is 120 Hertz, so it handles motion extremely well. At times with lower frame content, like a movie shot at 24 frames per second or even Red Dead Redemption, you can see some of the skipping and a little bit of shudders in some of this motion here. If you turn on picture clarity or LED clear motion in the settings, that'll smooth things out for you a little bit. Now this TV also supports FreeSync, and this kicks on automatically when you're playing a compatible game with compatible hardware. Sadly, it does require a GTX 16 series or RTX 20 series card to test it, and I just don't have it. But I did do some testing on just regular gaming, and I think it looks pretty good. I think if you do have the hardware, this can be used as a pro gaming setup, as it has a fast refresh rate and low input lag. Now, of course, a gamer won't play on a 65-inch, but the point I'm getting at is that it has low input lag, which means it's very responsive when gaming, and the higher refresh rate makes the game just run that much faster and that much smoother. Now, I did play games at 1080p and 4K resolution to kind of test this out on the TV. So I played Rocket League, Red Dead, and also NBA 2K. And it looks really good and it felt great too. Now, obviously I couldn't test at 120 Hertz, but 60 Hertz was looking good and everything was extremely responsive. And it kind of feels like the game was played as it was intended. No issues here. Now, the software on the TV is running Samsung's Tizen. It's more of what you've seen previously. The interface is very easy to use with the icons that cascade at the bottom. And also, if you don't want to dig through items, it does allow for a voice search. So you can say something like, show me movies with Kevin Hart, and all his movies will pop up and where to play them. Whether it's a paid option or a free option, it gives you all the choices right here that pops up. Makes it very easy to find exactly what you're looking for. Doesn't matter where it's at. If it's on Hulu, Amazon, Netflix, whatever, you can find it and get right to it. Obviously, you have to have subscriptions to these services for that to work. Also, built into the remote, you have the option for Alexa or Bixby, and you can even set it to do one or the other or prompt you each time you run it. And this will let you do things like check the weather, or if you have a smart home, turn off and on lights and all those things that you may do from your TV. I will say that Bixby actually digs into settings a bit more, so you can change color profiles and turn off the TV and do these things with your voice. I'm still an old school remote type of person, so it's nothing that I'm really into, but I know my parents love talking to their products in their home because they don't like to go through settings. So yeah, that's an option right there for you, and it works really good. This TV also is a SmartThings thing. So you can use SmartThings to access your smart home from this TV. Your phone can double as a remote as well within this SmartThings app. Well, speaking of SmartThings, you actually need to install it on a phone or a tablet to set your TV up. And of course, that requires a new account. So, if you don't want to be in the SmartThings ecosystem, Samsung is finding a way to get you into it, and I can't say I blame them. Now, one cool thing about that is that if you're coming from another Samsung TV and you had an account signed into SmartThings, it will pull your settings down, and then instead of it taking a while to update and get all your apps and settings and preferences, this will actually bring everything back down into it for you, and you're actually up and running in just a few minutes. Now, one major annoyance that I'm finding with Samsung TVs and even mobile now is that they have ads baked into the software. Yes, you can turn the advertisements off. You got to go into settings and do it. But at the same time, if I'm spending up to $2,000 for a TV, I don't want to have advertisements on there. I kind of feel like it's my property now and they shouldn't make money off me. There's one more thing I just don't like, is that your TV sells your information. It sells your watching habits and things like that, and it tells you right on the home screen. You do have the option to turn it off, which you click on the little button here, and then it tells you to go to a website. You go to that website and then you have to fill out a form to do it. All in all, it takes around 10 minutes to do, and it's kind of annoying for them to not say information. You have to go through all these extra steps. I know information is out there and all those things, but at the same time, I don't want my TV selling this information, especially if I'm paying all this money for a TV. And also, there's a lot of different apps that I didn't want that came pre-installed with the TV. Of course, you can uninstall it, but at the same time, it ends up making the operating system feel a little bit heavy, not too light, and at times, even though it's pretty snappy, there are times where it can feel a little bit clunky and you're going through multiple windows or multiple settings to find exactly what you're looking for, because Samsung puts their TV options kind of in the front. It's just sometimes it gets a little overbearing for me. Now, one thing that I really dig, especially now that I'm in the Apple ecosystem, it has to be AirPlay. It's built in. And it actually has a slick interface too, so when you mirror your phone to the TV, it pops up in a side-by-side view. I think it looks really good. I do think the built-in apps for Samsung, once you get into them, are really good. I mean, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all those things are baked into it, and I think they look really good. This TV has HDR10, it doesn't have Dolby Vision, and there's a whole thing about Dolby Vision versus HDR10, which one's better, which one's not. It's a whole mess. I prefer Dolby. This TV's HDR10. There's more content available for HDR10. Amazon Prime is HDR10 and Netflix is Dolby Vision, for what it's worth. If you watch Dolby Vision content, it's gonna be in HDR, but you're not gonna get that experience as if you watch something that is HDR10. It's a very confusing concept if you're not really into it and keeping up with it. And even if you do keep up with it, it's just not fun to do with. And at the end of the day, I think consumers get hurt where you have to decide if you want HDR10 content or Dolby Vision content. But anyways, the average person wouldn't really notice, but it is something that I definitely wanted to share. Look, there's a lot more that could be said about this TV, and I can go on and on talking about contrast and things like that. At the end of the day, if you're looking for a great overall performing TV, a slick design, some deep software, and pretty much any app you want to download, then this is a great choice. Samsung often changes prices on their products, so make sure you check out the links below to get the best deal. As always, guys, my name is Kevin the Tech Ninja. Hopefully you have yourself a great day and staying safe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.